Most people approach problems in a straight line. Something goes wrong. They identify the cause. They apply a fix. And sometimes it works. But often, the problem comes back, or something else breaks. A good example comes from Ford Motor Company in 2006. When Alan Mulally became CEO, the company was losing billions. Each department focused on its own problems. Manufacturing tried to cut costs. Design teams worked on new models. Sales pushed volume. On paper, everyone was fixing something, but the company kept getting worse. Mulally realized the issue wasn't any single part. It was the system. Departments weren't connected. Information wasn't shared. Problems were hidden to protect performance metrics. So instead of pushing harder on individual fixes, he changed how the system worked. He introduced weekly meetings where every division had to report performance openly. At first, everything looked green, no problems, which made no sense. Eventually, one executive admitted a failure. Instead of punishment, Mulally praised the transparency. That moment changed the system. Problems started surfacing. Teams began collaborating. Decisions improved across the company. Ford didn't recover because one issue was fixed. It recovered because the system of interactions changed. Another example comes from education. In 2001, the United States introduced the No Child Left Behind Act. The goal was clear: improve student performance. Schools were evaluated based on standardized test scores. Higher scores meant better performance. At first, this seemed like a direct solution. Measure learning, improve results. And in the short term, scores did increase. But the system reacted. Schools began focusing heavily on test preparation. Subjects not included in testing, like arts or critical thinking, received less attention. Teaching shifted from understanding to memorization. Students improved at taking tests, but learning in many cases became narrower. The system didn't fail because the goal was wrong. It failed because the measurement changed behavior across the system. Testing influenced teaching. Teaching influenced learning. Learning influenced long-term outcomes. A single change reshaped the entire structure. Just like in business, the problem wasn't isolated, it was systemic. That's what systems thinking reveals. Instead of seeing isolated problems, it sees relationships. Instead of asking, what caused this? It asks, how do these elements influence each other over time? In systems, cause and effect don't move in straight lines. They move in loops. A hidden problem leads to bad decisions. Bad decisions create more problems. More problems create more pressure to hide them. That's a feedback loop. Mulally didn't fix Ford by solving one issue. He broke the loop. This pattern appears everywhere. In a restaurant, pushing for speed reduces quality. Lower quality increases complaints. Complaints create pressure, which leads to more rushed service. In relationships, avoiding conflict builds tension. Tension reduces communication. Less communication creates more avoidance. The structure is always the same. You're not dealing with isolated issues, you're dealing with a system. That's why quick fixes often fail. They act on one part without understanding the whole. Systems thinking doesn't stop you from acting. It changes how you act. Before applying a fix, you step back and map the system. You look for key variables, how they interact, what happens when one changes. Because most real-world problems are not single-point failures. They are patterns. So how do you develop this kind of thinking? Start by slowing down your reaction. When you see a problem, don't fix it immediately. Ask, what else is connected to this? What happens next if I change this? What keeps this pattern going? Second, look for repetition. If the same issue keeps appearing in different forms, you're not seeing isolated mistakes. You're seeing a system. Third, think in loops, not lines. Replace cause to effect with cause to effect to feedback to new cause. That's where clarity begins. If you want to go deeper, there are a few works worth exploring. Thinking in Systems by Donella Meadows is one of the clearest introductions. The Fifth Discipline by Peter Senge explores how systems shape organizations. But more importantly, observe real environments. Kitchens, teams, relationships. They reveal systems in motion. Systems thinking doesn't make problems simpler. It makes them clearer. It shows that outcomes are rarely caused by one thing, but by many things interacting over time. And once you see that, you stop chasing quick fixes. You start shaping how the system works. In the longer version of systems thinking, we explore how feedback loops can be redesigned to create stable, lasting improvements. Nerd principles, timeless rules for modern thinkers.